Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and to another installment of the monthly favorite series. Today we're going to be talking about a book, a podcast, a blog post and a board game that I've enjoyed this month. But before we launch into all of that, I just want to flag up that this video is being used as an example in a new online class that I've just made about how to edit videos, or rather my own process for editing videos. So if you care about how I edit videos and you want to learn the workflow for video editing in Final Cut Pro, I'll put a link below to my Skillshare online class. You can watch it for free if you have a Skillshare premium subscription, or if you don't, you can sign up for a free 2-month trial using the link below, and then you can just watch the class. And then if you want, you can cancel it, or you can just keep on going. I have a membership to Skillshare, it's pretty good, you learn lots of stuff on it. So yeah, in this online class I'm going to teach you my whole editing workflow from start to finish, how I import the footage, how I do the first A-roll cut, how I do jump cuts to hopefully try and keep things relatively smooth. You'll learn how I bring in stuff from up and down and things just to add a little bit of masala to the video, and you'll learn how I do timestamps, like all this stuff, and how I do iPad handwritten animation. So if you're into the whole video editing thing, then you should definitely check out my new online class on Skillshare on how to edit videos for beginners. But yeah, that's enough with me plugging that class. Let's get on with the video. Okay, so firstly I want to talk about a book that I read this month, and that is Ready Player One. And it's a book by Ernest Cline, and you might have seen the movie. I first watched the movie and I absolutely loved the movie, but then I thought I'd read the book because I'd heard the book was really good, and I absolutely loved the book. Like, it took me about 2 nights to finish this, and I stayed up until like 4 AM both nights to watch it. Alright, secondly, I want to talk about a podcast that I started listening to recently and really enjoyed, and that is called My First Million. And it's a podcast that's run by the guys behind The Hustle, which is a really good like tech news daily email newsletter that I've been subscribed to for the last few months. And the idea is get the gritty details on how Silicon Valley's most prolific founders made their first million. So that's kind of like the premise behind it. How did they, like most of the guys this guy interviews are like multi-millionaires, multi-tens of millions of heirs, multi-hundreds of millions of heirs. That sounds really weird. But it's more like the story of how they made their first million. So how they got started and what they would do if they were starting today without any of their connections or network or money, and how they would go about making their first million. And you get some really interesting stories. There were a few that I really enjoyed. There was an episode with the guy who started the Hustle email newsletter and how it grew into a multi-million-dollar business. There was a very interesting one from some guy who made a website called Hot or Not, like in the early 2000s, back way before it was like the internet was a thing, and how they struggled to pay for like hosting space because at the time web hosting was like super expensive, and how they snuck into their university and like piggybacked off the university computer system to host the website for a bit. And yeah, it's just all very interesting stuff. And this guy, Sean Puri, I think his name is, he's like a really good interviewer. And he really explores the stories behind people making their first million. And one thing I really like about this is that they don't shy away from talking in real terms. So for example, he would say, okay, right, now your company's worth 750 million. How much were you making when you were 24 in your first year of starting this? And the guy's like, oh, I think I was making about 30,000 a year. And then he's like, okay, and how long did it take you to make your first million? And then they're like, oh, actually, probably about 4 or 5 years. And they're kind of open to breaking down the kind of financial aspect of that. And I think that's really good because a lot of the time when you hear interviews and things like the Tim Ferriss show where he's interviewing like super mega successful people, you often don't get to hear the numbers behind their success. That's another reason why I really like the Indie Hackers podcast, because that breaks down revenue numbers and shares figures and things. So yeah, if you're interested in the whole entrepreneurship thing, if you're interested in sort of how to become a millionaire and stuff, My First Million, really good podcast to listen to. Alright, thirdly I want to talk about a blog that I discovered, and that's by this guy called Nat Eliason, and you can find it at nateliason.com. He says, hi, I'm the founder of Growth Machine, co-host of the Made You Think podcast, ooh, I need to listen to that, and co-founder of Cup and Leaf Tea. This site hosts all my writing on psychology, self-education, entrepreneurship, marketing, philosophy, health, finance, and improving yourself in general. So basically he's covering all of the topics that I'm interested in, all the topics that I pretty much cover on my videos and my website. And really interestingly as well, he also publishes kind of summaries from all the books and stuff that he's ever read. So there's like a really huge long ass list of books and podcasts and videos that he's taken his own personal notes from and just published for free to the world. So that's another thing that I want to do with my website that I found quite inspirational. So he has done the whole thing whereby he has these multiple businesses that are bringing in passive income, and he also started off by reading The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, and it's a very interesting blog post where he talks about how he first got turned on to this idea of like, oh my god, you can make money like while you sleep, and then you can like go and live on the beach and stuff. And that was the bug that really caught me about like 6-7 years ago when I first read The 4-Hour Workweek. And now for the last 6-7 years I've been trying to build up these various sources of passive income in my own life so that I don't have to rely on my full-time job as a doctor to make money. If I wanted to, I could quit medicine. I won't, but if I wanted to, I could. And that just gives me more freedom to like travel the world and like do stuff. But the really interesting thing about his blog is that he has done this. Like, he has got enough passive income to be able to just travel the world and do whatever he wants. But he talks about the existential dread that comes out of that. And Tim Ferriss alludes to this in the 4-Hour Workweek as well. And that's like, once you've got this lifestyle whereby you don't have to work anymore, then what do? Like, this guy went to Argentina for a few months, and you know, his whole thing is that he like traveled a lot, and then he realized that actually, you know, this whole sort of fetishizing the whole traveling thing wasn't the route to happiness, and now he's kind of rejigged his life priorities and actually figured out what actually makes him happy now that he's broken free of this rat race of passive income. And that's like a funny thing to say, because the people who are into this whole passive income, you know, entrepreneurship, make money on the internet type thing, are the people that think, like, we all think we've sort of transcended the regular 9-to-5 job and be like, you know, I don't want to be tied into corporate wage slavery, therefore I'm going to build a business on the side, and therefore I'm going to be able to do whatever I want now that my finances are taken care of. But what this guy says is actually, you know, you think that's the case, but when you get there, you realize that actually it's not all that it's cracked up to be. And actually a lot of the happiness you get from your own life will come from, you know, your relationship and your close friends and family. I love this guy's blog, this guy Nat's blog, because it just made me double think again about why I was doing all of this, and really figure out what the priorities are in this whole thing. So that's a lot of abstract stuff that I've just gone on about, but yeah, I'll link some of his blog posts down below and some of my favorite ones, and I've actually started making notes on those. So at some point I'm going to do what he does and what my mate Derek Sivers does, and publish them all online on my website. So that's like a thing that I'm working on at the moment. But yeah, if any of this sounds vaguely interesting, if you're interested in psychology, entrepreneurship, self-improvement, stuff like that, you should check out this guy Nat's blog. Yeah, if you liked the editing on this and you are interested in learning how to edit videos, you should check out my class on Skillshare. There'll be a link in the description below. If you don't have a subscription, that's fine. Just sign up to a free 2-month trial, watch the class, and then you can cancel if you really feel like it. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, I'll link my playlist of monthly favorites videos somewhere over here, and that'll show you some other of these videos where I share some recommendations. And you can also check out my website and my weekly email newsletter where I share more things that I like, things that I would recommend. So if you kind of like this, then you might like those. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.